Yeah. So, hello again officially, and very warm welcome to the first Siebel Friday in 2023. We have quite the agenda today. I'm happy that you can join us. Welcome, everybody. So, first part of the planned agenda is a quick update on 23.1 because it's just out last week, and it's the first release of Siebel 23, really. Of course, it's just a successor to 22.12, and we'll see what it's in there. And then it's, good friends from GMC, General Medical Council in the UK. That's James and Aaron, who will actually give us a demo of their Script Assist feature. Yeah, you will see for yourself what they did. Very, very cool stuff. And then, if we have time after that and anybody's in the mood, I'll discuss some Zookeeper stuff that I did over the, New Year's end, and show you a new app by a company in Hungary. We'll talk a little bit about options for Siebel 23 training, because it's Siebel 23 is out, and you never stop learning. Okay, so let's dive into the update on 23.1. Just get this a little bit bigger. There you go. So there are two major integrations going on with 23.1, cloud integrations that are, and one tiny but very interesting feature in the incremental migration. So the integrations are with Clinical One and Oracle Field Service Cloud. And it's all documented in the respective bookshelf guides and also the other end on the cloud. So Clinical One, not really the one who can talk about this knowledge, but it's a clinical trial management system that Oracle possibly acquired and is now called Oracle Clinical One, and it's in the Oracle Cloud. And there is Siebel CTMS, the clinical trial management system, which a lot of customers are using, I guess, in the pharmaceutical space, the life sciences space. And this can now be fully integrated with a pre-built integration with Clinical One. It uses the REST API mostly, and you see on the list here, you can synchronize, insert query, quite a lot of entities related to clinical trials. So that's a great addition to have. If anyone wants to join in and say more about this, I'm happy to hand you over the mic. Okay, no one really? Yeah, it's an interesting one for sure. And the other one is even more interesting depending on what industry you're working on. Field service, that is Siebel Field Service, integrated now, pre-integrated with Oracle Field Service Cloud. By a lot of stuff I've seen in the repository upgrade, a lot's going on, integration objects and workflows and stuff like that is in Siebel now. And it's using Oracle Integration Cloud, or OIC. That's the middleware in the cloud. I think it's the successor to AIA, Application Integration Architecture, or it's the implementation of AIA in the cloud. I'm not sure about that. Correct me if I'm wrong. And on the Siebel side, it uses outbound EAI, and internally in the cloud uses REST. And obviously, you can now synchronize the data between Siebel and Field Service Cloud, like employees and skills and appointments. And you can use both systems in parallel, whatever suits best. So the mobility options for Field Service Cloud are much better than what Siebel has, the dispatching options, and you can still use Siebel, of course, and synchronize the data. So another great integration from Oracle for two Oracle products. Anybody wants to share something about this?
Is this Oracle Field Service Cloud? Is this what used to be called TAO?
Hi, Richard.
Hi, Alex. Is this TAO, the field service, or am I getting mixed up with something else here?
TAO is short for?
The Tau of, I have no idea what it's short for now, but I seem to remember there was a product called TAO. Let me see.
Okay.
Google is our friend.
Yeah, I honestly don't know, but you'll Google it.
Oh no, I wish I could find the answer, but yeah. So looking at the UI, it appears to be, but I don't, because it looks like TAO to me, which is a very good field service application. Do you know if customers are running, let's say they're using the ABS, the appointment booking system of Siebel, and then they decide to integrate with this Oracle Field Service Cloud, whether they basically have to stop using things like the Siebel ABS and use the cloud version, or is there some kind of, is it basically replacing bits of Siebel with cloud, or is it cohabiting and synchronizing?
I would say without much confidence that it's the latter. It's synchronizing both environments. Mm-hmm. And so ABS, for example, updates activities or creates activities.
Yeah.
And those are synchronized between the systems. You can use whatever system to work on that activity. It's what I imagine. Again, I'm really on thin ice here. Haven't used Field Service Cloud ever. Yeah. But that's what I imagine the integration to be. Anybody who's more knowledgeable than that, yeah, please chime in. Or if you watch the video, put in a comment.
Sounds like someone typing a comment.
Someone typing a comment already. Okay.
Or maybe just answering an email. Okay.
So, okay, this
is Brian.
Hi, Brian.
I can't give you a whole lot more on it, but I mean, all I'd say is it's primarily, I know the demonstrations I've seen have been really to allow the customer to leverage some of the really good stuff that Oracle Field Service Cloud is very good at, which is around appointment booking, self-service booking for customers, et cetera, and then allow that to feed back into Siebel, where the actual field service technician would then work on the actual whatever the issue is. So it's primarily kind of in that area to keep all of that in sync. Some things like would stay just in Siebel, other things would be in Service Cloud. If you want more details, I just recommend watching the TOI, or if you'd like a customized session, I can contact my counterparts over on our applications team and see if one of them wants to drop by for one of these meetings, maybe. Or if you
hi, Brian.
Look, send it to me and I'll see if I can set up a one-on-one with a given company or partner.
Okay, hi Brian. It's Richard here. I was just curious because I do have a long-term Siebel field service customer, so I just wanted to make sure if it came up in conversation that I would appear more intelligent than I really am. I'll watch the video and then I'll reach out to you.
All right, sounds good.
Cheers, Brian.
Okay.
Same offer forever.
Great, and yeah, hi Brian. Glad to have you.
Hey, Alex.
Okay, so here's a little diagram that shows over the past 2 or 3 years how many integrations Oracle has delivered in monthly updates. So you can see it goes back to 19 with Intelligent Advisor, of course, and then Siebel 21 included CrowdTwist, Unity, the official Analytics Cloud certification, which is, of course, the successor to Oracle BI. And now in 22.10 had the AI services, if you remember that one. And now Field Service Cloud and Clinical One. Okay. So, yeah, it's quite a track record, and hopefully we'll see more integrations in the future. That's one of the proclaimed goals of Oracle, to help customers, well, get the best of both worlds, augment Siebel with CX solutions on Oracle Cloud. So yeah, the final feature in 23.1 is related to incremental migrations. If you know the migration application, it supports incremental migration, which is, of course, the killer feature. Inject new functionality in a matter of, well, a few minutes, really. And the as we know, most of these changes are can be done live without any downtime, but users in a current session still have to log out and log in to load the new workspace version and to get the new features. So now with 23.1, this actually is by default no longer the case if by default you wait long enough. So it got me first time when I tried it. I was eager to see it in action. I missed the point that there is a default parameter now called server session loop sleep time, which is the component parameter, and it's 900 seconds default setting. So that's 15 minutes, which means every 15 minutes, the application object manager is polling for a new version of the workspace. And if there is a new version, it loads that into the repository cache. So the session immediately takes over the changes that are delivered in this new workspace. And thus, all the workspace managed repository changes are available in that session. The user doesn't have to log out and log in. So that's very exciting. And I hear from James, who is going to be talking in a few moments, that this is actually a driver for adopting 23.1 already.
Well, yeah, not quite a driver. We want to patch anyway because we haven't patched for a year. But
okay, so yeah.
Part of it, to be honest, I think Kira's on. You can tell you're finding a patch that actually installs without falling over is a minor miracle sometimes, and this one seems to have installed. So
yeah. This is the first one we've tried since starting in October that works. And John Bedford did ask my manager, why are you struggling with patching? So I sent him all the SRs that I've raised over the past 2 years.
Okay, good one. And so that's also good to hear that 23.1 now passes the litmus test at GMC.
We're making one of the things that we've just started doing. We started the effort a long time ago, but actually implementing it, we just are starting with this release. We've collected several customer databases and the custom, manifest related files that go with it of DR only environments. Of course, we don't want anyone's, production. And then we're internally running the install and including post-install DB setup on them to make sure that everything runs smoothly on customer databases. Things always tend to run smoothly in an out-of-the-box database, right? The customer ones, there's just so many things you can do in Siebel that sometimes there's a problem. And so if, and then right now we're looking at maybe testing with 2 customer databases a month, and a total of 6. So every 3 months we'd go back to customer A, so to speak. Quarterly we would be testing on that sort of rolling schedule. In any case, my point is, if you are interested in participating in that, essentially turning over your DR environment to us, just giving us a copy, and then and all the manifest files that go with it, then we can get your database into our cycle so that once every N months we can, we'll run post-install DB setup and so on against it, which should help us to identify a lot of the types of problems that you've encountered. So that's a program that is open to you if you are interested and you don't have legal concerns and you have no PII or GDPR type data in your DR environment, which I hope you don't. Then reach out to me and I'll work with you to try to get it in-house. So that's just an offer that's out there to try to help with these types of problems you're describing. It is the step we're taking because we agree that you've all seen a lot of issues with that. So just wanted to throw that in there.
Okay, wow, that's great. Yeah. Thanks, Brian. So, so everybody's going busy copying the database, I guess, now. And while the
email because I need something from you on this exact subject.
yeah. So and now I will hand over to James and Aaron from GMC. So I'll stop sharing, and so James, screen is yours.
Okay. Get back onto the screen.
Okay, you're coming up. Yeah.
Okay. Are we in?
Yeah. All right. You're sharing.
Okay, and Aaron, you're online as well?
Yep, I'm here, yep.
Okay, maybe I'll do a quick start and then I'll probably hand over to Aaron to talk about our approach. But I suppose it started probably about 14, 15 months ago. I don't know which one of your channels, Alex, you've got a few, but I came across your kind of DevPops, downloaded it, I thought, oh, this looks quite interesting. And then spent a little bit of effort to just try to integrate it into our development environment, just so we can kind of like assess it. And yeah, I loved it, kind of so much potential in there, kind of, but then we had lots of our own ideas, and we've also got complexity of not just a number of environments, but a number of different applications. One also hosts an iframe, so there's a few different flavors, and we wanted something that we could run standalone and something that would kind of span all our applications as well as all our environments. So Aaron, maybe you kind of come in on how we kind of took that forward.
Absolutely, yeah. So like you say, we introduced the devpops into public sector. Everyone was happy with it, everyone loved it. But there was the caveat that the testers were raising bugs with some of the features because we didn't have visibility of all the features, such as the double click with the X-ray, so on and so forth. So we obviously had that added complexity to it. So what we needed to do was take all of the features and create some sort of UI that can be used across different applications in a consistent way. In the context of whether it's in an iframe, whether it's not in an iframe, and whether it's in development, whether it's in pre-prod or production. So what we did was we went away and we took the devpops file and we basically refactored everything in it. So we took all of the code and redeveloped it from the ground up and standardized it so that we can develop on top of it going forward. And that's we recreated this what we call a bookmark clip, and it sits in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. James will demonstrate that when it's back over to him. Yeah, so it launches this, which sits in contrast to the window. So as you can see, that it's black. So it underlying it is CSS variables, so we can obviously change that on the fly. You can minimize it and it will be opaque, so you can transfer it, you can scroll through your session, it's not going to interfere with anything as such. And we've added everything into what we call submenus and accordions. So rather than having a big long list of features, because we knew that we had all of these ideas and we wanted to extend them, we decided that we were going to categorize them. So we've added them into what we deem categories. So workspace stuff is going to say workspaces, and so on and so forth. And that also allows us to change the menu structure across different environments. So obviously we're going to see workspaces in dev, but we're not necessarily going to want to see workspaces in production. So it allows us to change the menu structure as we go to different environments and different applications. So we've got lots of flexibility in that regard. But yeah, I think it was just trying to create some consistency across all of the different bits of functionality and create UI that's consistent across each piece of functionality. But yeah, I'll hand back over to James and he can give you a demonstration of it.
Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, so you might have noticed just in the background, I just drill down into one of our submenus for workspaces. Now, obviously, workspaces are kind of applicable to development and non-development. And I guess one of the challenges is to make it available in all the environments, we needed a bit of flexibility around which features were available because they're not all applicable. So in our code for this, so I'll just switch over to the code for a moment, then we actually have this object we've defined where for each of the menus, we actually specify a number of parameters, which then we we kind of read dynamically, looking at what environment are you on, what access should you have. In some cases, is it available for web tools or not? And then this is what's used to kind of drive what options are kind of available. The other part that when Aaron said we kind of refactored the kind of the JavaScript, in terms of the server side stuff, that was in the client side business service, which I think you called, was it GMC? Sorry, developer runtime or something.
The FWK, the framework, the FWK
runtime. That was it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one, I can't remember what you called it. So that I kind of refactored into a server-side business service. So that is available in all our environments. And before someone asks, in terms of production stuff, we actually have server-side checks for anything in production. So we have a kind of like an allow list for production.
Yeah.
So even if someone had access to something, doesn't mean you can run it.
Yeah. If I might add here, so you took devpops from GitHub. And
yep.
I've seen your code. Thanks for this. And you basically have rewritten a lot of it, taking some of the code I've seen, but mostly you created your own. And one thing about that client-side business service that comes with devpops, that includes functions that, well, going back in time, Harik, who created a lot of the base work. We didn't really want that code to be in production anyhow. So that's why we left it as a client-side business service. So very dangerous codes. If you just copy paste it and use it in production, you will have a very bad time. So just a word of caution.
We did, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I didn't elaborate, but I didn't just copy and paste. I refactored some of that server-side stuff as well. So I went through every single function, and
I just want to make sure that this recording includes the warning. Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah, totally. So it was at our risk, and we did refactor stuff. You know, it's
okay. But
and obviously we've got a test team.
It's looking really
test it all.
Great. So you have that new type of menu and. Okay, what are we looking at?
Yeah, so I'll just go back to the top. So obviously we've kind of arbitrarily split it up because we've got so many features on here now. It just made sense to kind of group stuff. So for instance, it may seem quite noddy, but we've recently added this favorites in. That this has made a REST call to grab some data that sits under the user, just stored as a JSON object, and we're pulling back favorite views that someone saved, so we can use this to kind of like navigate around just as a quick way of navigating. And you can add and remove when you want a particular view to that list, and then it saves that back.
Really sweet.
I guess the advantage is, you know, it's dedicated to environment, so you know if it's kind of persistently stored, you know, rather than storing it in the session storage. So that's sort of fairly recent. A lot of the view stuff is kind of what you've already got in the stuff in your GitHub repo. There's a few other bits we've added in. This one, we're thinking also actually rolling out possibly a cut down version of some of this stuff for end users. Things like this option here, user session. So the idea behind this is we make a number of open UI calls and output the results to this window, where this could be something that a user could raise with an incident. You know, if they're raising some defect, then this will capture a bunch of information that kind of might help us kind of debug the issue. You know, starting with when is it captured, stuff about the environment and browser, any log files that are relevant, any errors that have been written out to our log files or to the console, that type of thing. Also shows a view history, so we kind of tracked where they've come from as well. So sometimes that helps kind of debug stuff.
Wow.
So the view stuff, a lot of this, I mean, some of these are just shortcuts. I mean, just, you know, convenience. They speak for themselves. The X-ray is pretty much the same stuff as you've already provided. And it's kind of just a go-to view, and that's kind of just showing the history. So there's not too much exciting in here. I mentioned about workspaces being applicable in dev, but actually things like Explorer, which shows you what objects people have changed in workspaces, and integration, which actually shows you within an integration workspace, what developer workspaces there are, we actually can run these from any environment, because all we need to do is obviously fire off that request to our development environment. We just change the endpoint.
Right.
So I'm in pre-production here. So even in pre-production, I've still got workspace. I haven't got inspector because obviously there's nothing to inspect in pre-prod. But on dev, these are still applicable. So I can click on integration. It'll go away to dev and pull back the status of our integration workspaces. We work in 2 Scrum teams and in currently 3-week cycles. And if you want to see the status of it, I mean, this one's been delivered, but we can look inside it and see what tickets have been worked on by the developers, and our Scrum Master can use it to look at the status of a workspace, who's not delivered, what's outstanding. So without having to ask anyone or a dev go down to the database and do select statements, we can kind of use this as a kind of, simple UI to kind of give you some answers.
Oh, wow, it looks cool.
But probably a lot of the power or the features that our devs particularly like is around kind of a debug section. Oops. Sorry. Get this back open again. I might go back to debug. Now some of these again are just refactors of the stuff you provided, like the client tracing, which that is very popular. But ones we've added in the last few months are kind of server logs and server manager. So obviously one of the big issues, particularly on production, but sometimes any environment, is trying to hunt down the log file. You've got an object manager log. What server is that log on? That object manager could be running on multiple servers. You could have multiple sessions. It's not always obvious which is your log file. So the idea behind the server logs is it goes and makes a request to the history table of sessions, and it defaults to the currently logged in user and actually finds any object managers you've got sessions on. So in this case, I've got an EAI component run under my session. I've got public sector, and it's got a number of log files that I've created within, like today. It's only looking at today's sessions. And what we can do is we can pick one and hit view log file. But what that will do is it goes away to the server. That's correct because there's not much logging on this file. But it goes away to the server, grabs the file, copies it to the web server, so it's accessible. And then we do a fetch of the file, bring it down to the client, and then load it into this kind of code mirror. Once it's in here, then if we'd had something a bit more useful, then we can actually have all these filters in here as a kind of a quick shortcut to find stuff. So for example, if you're looking for long-running queries, we could click on SQL. We've got this minimum elapsed threshold, and this would have shown you if there was any SQL that took longer than 0.1 seconds, that's for execute or fetch or parse. Then that would have popped up here. If you select it, it then navigates you directly to that line of code. So
if I may, sure, that would of course require a log level being cranked up.
Oh yeah, we've actually got this on low just now, so it's not much useful when long levels on one.
Nice.
But what
really
we could
cool.
do is if I go to the other one first, so server manager. So this is really just our kind of front end for server manager. So we're running the server manager commands server side again, but we've put our own UI in it. So we're actually running server manager now to get a list of servers and components. It's always slow the first time for this particular environment. So it's telling us here that we've got 2 Siebel servers, and these are all the components that are available. That's across all the servers. We can pick a server, and then it constrains the components just on that server. The commands are all kind of dynamic. The buttons in here will all generate the commands for you, basically. So if I wanted to say list all components, I can just say list components because I haven't picked any. If I pick a component and say list components, then it obviously changes it to add the component in. If I've picked a server and say picked a component with a server and do list component, then it's context of the server. So it's basically every combination is automatically kind of catered for, and you can add as many. commands in as you want. I can't get to that without in the window. Can I move this? Yes, I can. That's better. And you can type in command as well. You know, you don't have to generate the commands via the buttons. So there's lots of messing around you could do with the service components. These are all list type commands in this window. So nothing is locked down. So any of our kind of developers or testers or BAs, whoever using this, could actually run these commands if you wanted to. We do have some other windows. So there's like manage, where we can change. So that's where we can, you know, bounce components. We change logging levels, that type of thing. Again, all driven by, you know, which components that you've selected. And there's also a third option for SARM. And I think you had an option in your stuff for this. So we've kind of done a similar thing. Maybe I did a couple of extra parameters, but basically let this and use Server Manager to basically generate all the commands to actually enable SARM for an object manager. What it will do is, if you click on Start, it will then send the commands via Server Manager, change object manager with a timer, which we've defaulted to 5 minutes, but you can change that. Mm-hmm. You can then do whatever you want to do in terms of what you're trying to measure. When you hit stop, it will then send the relevant commands to Server Manager to disable SARM for that object manager. It also runs the SARM analyzer commands to generate the CSV file. It then copies a CSV file down to your client. So basically, with just a couple of buttons, you can basically have a local copy of the SARM analyzer file already extracted to a CSV.
Wow. So
it's quite a time saver in terms of, we don't use SARM often, but when you do come to use it, you don't have to think about, you know, what are the commands, and you just start and stop and I've got the file basically.
Wow. Okay. Really next level.
So yeah, API test is not built yet, but and the other stuff's pretty much what you've got anyway. It's just our kind of slightly different front end to it. We've also kind of played around with some other stuff. So we have a lot of batch jobs. We run on Windows, and we have some users who were going to servers to actually run jobs, which cause some issues. So we've got a front end to that now. So we can click on batch jobs. It will go to the server, run a command to get the list of jobs, and provide our list of jobs locally. You know, you can pick a job. You can kind of query the status of it. You know, bring that back, show it in a window. You can run a job. You can look at last run schedule, so you kind of see a history of what's run. You can kind of see what's coming up, what's going to run next.
Just to clarify, sorry, James, these are Windows jobs, not Siebel components.
These are Windows jobs. So yeah, so it's not Siebel as such, but they form part of our end-to-end solution. And it's convenient to kind of make it available within the same tooling.
Okay.
What else have we got on data? So list of values. I mean, I'm sure everyone in this call has probably spent far too many days and months of their life messing about with list of values, and it's taken us quite a lot of effort to kind of have our kind of pipelined and way of managing list of values across environments, particularly with hierarchy and that type of thing. But one of the things that we ran into when we upgraded that we couldn't do anymore was copy LOVs, because it doesn't copy work, because of workspaces. It causes all sorts of pain. So we had to disable it, which upset a few people. So we've now got the ability to as a kind of an alternative way of copying. So what users can do, or say users, kind of developers, they can go to our list of values and they can kind of pick a record. So you query for your list of value, find one that's similar to the one you want. You can then say clone the list of value. It'll then copy all the data into here. It may be you just want to change, you know, a different name. So, you know, you could put that in. It'll default the lick to the same, because it usually is. And then if you hit upsert, it then uses the Siebel only supported business service to
Yeah,
actually push that into the environment.
LOV import service.
Yeah, LOV import service, yeah.
Okay.
So it'll push that in via REST. It will then requery the user interface and actually show you the record and clear the cache as well. So basically, it's, you know, kind of like a one button, push it in, clear the cache, and there it is.
Okay. If there ever was a one button application, that's it.
It's as close as we can get anyway.
Wow.
But other issues we have are sometimes with list of values is, you know, people struggle to find out where they're used. You know, any customizations regarding a pick list, you know, it might have a search back on it, you know, like an order by or something, you know, greater than a number, and it's not always obvious, you know, in terms of subsets and things. So we've kind of built something to kind of help out business analysts in particular who try and work this stuff out. So I don't know if I just try and find, let me just go to view. Basically what you want to do is find a field that's a list of value. Something like, that's probably not been configured as the value. There we go, gender. That's one there. So you click on a field that you're interested in. And as I go back to data list of values, probably have to click on that again. And if I say find list of values, it'll go away now and make various REST calls to the workspace provided REST calls to actually basically look up the config. So it'll basically kind of trawl the various relevant objects to try and find out what configuration we've done for that one. Might have been a bad choice because that's probably used in lots of places, so it might not be quick. But if it does come back, it'll come back and tell you know what the pick list is, the LOV type. There we go. So you can see there, it's come back with, you know, where that's been used for that business component, any search spec, sort spec, and it also uses the return search spec to actually run a query on the view and actually return back the data. So you can see that in the view behind it, it's actually found any records that were relevant for that pick list and actually returned them here, so we can kind of see those. And you can also go in reverse. This one's takes a bit longer, so I won't demo it, but you could do the same thing but the other way around. So you can say, where do we use this LOV type in the application? So I could click on find list of values and it'll go away and do it the other way and look for all pick lists that have that LOV type, and then, you know, where those pick lists used, etc., etc. So again, it's a way to try and track things down. And speak of tracking things down, I guess maybe the last one of interest perhaps might be this Elasticsearch. Maybe a little bit of a misnomer, but we've got a couple of kind of global searches we've built. So there's one which is user data, which is a new feature that we're going to roll out soon, not in this form, but into a homepage where it will do a global search across a number of entities. So we've built a kind of a single table, like a skinny table, with a search index that will return results in less than 2 seconds. So you could query for an ID or a name or some reference, and then it'll scan basically about a dozen different entities and come back with any matches using fuzzy logic, and order it with best match first. You know, it's kind of a quick way for users to find data and then navigate to it. But we've got a similar one, metadata, we use as a kind of like a souped up repository search. So rather than go into tools and do a repository search, we've kind of built our own. So again, we've got a table that we rebuild each night for this one. And we put in basically dump our config into it. And then we run a REST call against it. And we can use that to kind of find kind of references to things. So for example, if we want, and we've not just put config in, we actually put in things like list of values and system preferences and products and pricing and anything we think might be useful in terms of doing a kind of global search. You know, if like a BA has got a requirement, and what's the impact of me changing this product name, or what's the impact of changing this label, or that type of thing. So, you know, we could do a kind of like a search. search, and then it's going to go away on that call and come back with any matches, if there are any matches, which we can then export out to CSV. This one usually takes about 10 seconds or so, but might depend on how many matches there are.
That's a GoToMeeting distorting space-time.
So you can see here, this is what you search for. We can export out to CSV when a new search, or we can scroll down and look at the different matches. So you can kind of see what objects is it referencing. And with this many results, it's easier probably just to export it. Did I click on export? Was it thinking? No, it was me being impatient. So I've now got 2 copies. Yeah, it's just been a bit slow. Anyway, you get the idea. Yeah, and then the other stuff is probably not that interesting, really. I mean, they're really the kind of the main sort of features that we kind of use. Aaron, I've talked a lot. Isn't there anything you want to add to that?
No, I think you've covered everything. Great there, yeah. It's covered everything.
You can also see you've got the workspace and the version at the top there as well, because that was asked for by someone.
Okay, so that's it. That's about what you wanted to show us, James.
Yeah, but happy if anyone's got any kind of questions on it. But...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there are a lot of questions, input. Yeah, so first of all, let's give James and Aaron a big hand for this. Thanks much. And
no problem.
It's a great showcase, great use case of what you can do if you want to do it, if you set your mind to it, to enhance the experience, not just for the end users, but also for developers. Richard says in the chat, yeah, please use the chat for feedback as well. Richard says, amazing and inspiring. Any questions, most welcome.
James, this is Kerry. I came in a little late. I don't know if you demonstrated under debug. I think you had something called eScript Playground. Did you? What is that?
Yeah.
Did you already demonstrate it?
Yeah, I didn't demo that one, largely because it's a kind of pretty much a carbon copy of what Alex has already provided. I kind of focused a bit more on the features that either we've added or extended.
Yeah, that's one of the standard DevPops features, but with a new UI that you put on it, yeah.
Yeah, like I say, it's just a playground. Just write your eScript and test it out.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and see, there's a similar one for expressions as well, but
which are all courtesy of Harik from, by the way, from who developed it in the first place. Just to give him the credit.
Yeah, we've got a business service one we added as well. It's a bit kind of like a replacement for the business service simulator, really. The main difference being that we interrogate the properties, the input properties for a business service method, so you can kind of pick them in rather than having to manually type them in when you create a property set.
Right.
So again, that's just for convenience, but. I can probably show that.
Okay. So yeah, that's all right. So yeah, I'd say if there are no further questions, we'll take a moment to see where we are. So we have. There's always no end time really on a Siebel Friday, but of course there's like the usual 1 hour that everybody reserves or seems to reserve. So we have like 15 minutes. I have a few more things to say and not wanting to squelch any discussions. So, but I'll just go along and thanks again, James and Aaron.
No problem.
So let me share my screen then. There we go. So yeah, so let me show you around a little bit. things that you might have been missing over the, well, quiet period. So first, yeah, there we start. The Siebel Hub, of course, is still there for you to serve all your knowledge, to quench your thirst on Siebel knowledge. So here's the, well, that's the blog page with today's Siebel Friday announcement. Siebel 23 is here, discussed already. We have the monthly update summary on YouTube is up and running, so you can watch the what's new in 23.1 with a bonus track of revised upgrade and update processes. How do you get to 23? There was this poll I was doing on, actually, let me go there. The poll I was doing on the YouTube community a while ago, just basically for the fun of it, New Year's quiz, Siebel 23.1 is, and most people got it right. It's the monthly update that follows Siebel 22.12. And I'm worried a little bit about the people who said it's version 0.1 of IP23, so they probably need to go to the Siebel Hub and get some training. And so on the Siebel Hub, the big news is that we now have, well, we always had a big curriculum of 15 classes, and we have a new menu up, Siebel CRM training, obviously, where you can pick all these great classes for experienced people and also for new hires who are just new. So for example, if you want to train new developers, which actually seems to be a thing these days, that yeah, new people start learning Siebel, and well, they're half my age. So it's always a pleasure to train a new generation. And we have the Developer Essentials course, for example, which is split into 4 modules, 4 main chapters, like a Siebel CRM 101, Developer Essentials level, integration course. So it's an entire curriculum aimed at people who want to learn Siebel development from scratch. And I know that's not the audience that's here because you're all very, very familiar with Siebel CRM, but let me point you to the 23 Plus workshop, which is the latest version of the Siebel workshop that we have. What's new since IP17? And here's the module list. So we have revamped, re-recorded most of the modules to make them really up to date. They're up to date for Siebel 23.1, and we have the promise of continuous updates. And there's a page, I just want to point that out because that's really well, my favorite page on the whole Siebel Hub, really, because I updated it so often, is the continuous updates page, where whatever module you have from the Siebel Hub, you can go here and see what happened in the past few months in that area. Like, for example, well, the biggest area is REST API, where we list for each monthly update the feature has been introduced, and I have a link to the actual YouTube video, which is free, of course. So it's a free service that gets you to the YouTube video, to the exact place where you can learn in a matter of a few minutes. You can learn what's this new feature all about. So this is the continuous updates page. Really want to make sure that we talk about this. And this is part of our Siebel Hub guarantee of being always up to date. So I'm putting that link in the chat as well, so you can grab it. Okay, so yeah, let me get back to the blog site. So the recent blogs also include a video. I'm doing lots of videos these days by Endo IT. The video is by me, but the nice people at Endo IT, Hungarian consultancy, they have delivered the great VS Code extension for scripts that we demonstrated a while ago. And so they have now created what they call a Siebel utility app. So there's a video, you can see it. And that utility app kind of acts as a lightweight application that allows you to manage and configure, well, the usual Siebel server stuff like stop and start components, set log levels with a fresh UI. But the killer feature is actually you can save configurations of different enterprises and compare them. And that comparison of enterprises is what we're always looking for as administrators. Sometimes you want to just see the differences between two versions of your enterprise, let's say. We know Zookeeper has no version control, so when you change a parameter, it's just a new value. You don't have any history, but you can take snapshots and you can compare with this utility. It's rather easy. So there's a link here to GitHub, so do check it out. And there's a full description there, and again, there's a full video. So that was a great addition by the good people here at Endo IT. And just as of coincidence, I worked with a customer and we had lots of discussions about how to get information out of Zookeeper and make it more accessible. And this resulted in a 3-part video series where, again, you find all the links in the blog and the videos on the YouTube channel. But I want to spawn a little bit of a discussion here. Whatever is your favorite part, there are the Zookeeper built-in tools. Of course, we all know setcase, CLI, the command line interface for Zookeeper. Some of you might have tried the snapshot toolkit. So if you go to the bin folder of Zookeeper, you find it. And just recently, if you have Siebel 22.6 or higher, you have Zookeeper 3.8. And that includes a new utility called the snapshot comparer. And that was actually the trigger for the discussion at that customer, where I said, okay, now there's a built-in tool, but it's a low-level command line tool for Zookeeper. Is it useful at all to compare Siebel enterprise configurations, either two versions of it, because snapshots, the Zookeeper snapshots, or stuff that you have saved away, or between two environments? And the video tells you more about this. You can output text files, you can compare those text files. And then, of course, we were discussing, okay, more automation. And the second video is about the REST API, the Cloud Gateway REST API, which is, semi-documented in Bookshelf. So it makes an appearance in Bookshelf. And so using this REST API, you can, of course, automate reading stuff. Reading only, please. Reading only from Zookeeper and then saving this stuff somewhere and comparing it. So there's more automation. And then we did take it a little bit further. So there are various, including now the Endo IT app, which we didn't have at that time when we recorded the video. But if you Google for Zookeeper GUI, graphical user interface, you find tons of more or less useful graphical user interfaces for Zookeeper. And one in particular that I used is from a guy called Echo Ma and is open source on GitHub. It allows to export data from Zookeeper, and then these files and folders that are exported, you can compare using WinMerge or any other tool. Again, it's all about comparing the data and making decisions about, well, from this difference analysis that you have. So, yeah, that's a little bit of update what happened on the blog. And of course, we have devpops 23.1. So, yeah, chiming in with the great demo from James and Aaron, who use devpops in a very safe way, because devpops is not safe for your Siebel environment, but it shows what you can do if you want to. And so 23.1, there's a video again, has a ton of features related to web, working with workspace elements, even navigating to web tools and all that kind of stuff. So there's not enough time to really get into a demo here, but do check it out. And that brings us, of course, to the Siebel Hub YouTube channel. which you'll know where to find it, and you check out the latest videos that we have here. Okay, so so that's it from my side. Anything to add from your side? Anything you want to say, you want to discuss in the next Siebel Friday chat?
Well, I wanted to first of all say thank you for the demo, the DevPops, or we'll call it DevPops++ demo was absolutely astounding. Amazing work from GMC, really. And I'm about to drop off. This is Richard, by the way. People know that I'm also just as obsessed with OIA, Oracle Intelligent Advisor, as I am with Siebel. So I wanted to let this crowd know that we're running a kind of, I'll call it an Oracle Intelligent Advisor Wednesday, as opposed to a Siebel Friday in February. So if you are coming up against OIA, either in a Siebel context or standalone, and you are sitting there having questions and you want to ask me anything about OIA, there's a link in the chat. You go ahead and register. Same deal as the Siebel Friday, just on OIA Wednesday. If anyone wants to come along, you'd be most welcome.
Okay.
But thanks for another great Siebel Friday.
Thanks, Richard. So be there or be square at the Ask Me Anything.
Yeah, we don't use Zoom, so probably more than 10 people it'll crash. So yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks, Richard. Yeah.
Hey, Alex.
Hi, Nick.
Just an FYI, I finally got Olaf to work with the workflow REST AI.
Okay, which is very cool, and congratulations. So any chance we see any of this next Siebel Friday, or?
Sure.
Because I remember you did a demo, was it 1 year ago?
Yeah, when I was doing the REST. I found out a lot in the last year.
Okay, so there would be a lot of learning there. So we can talk offline, of course, and
yeah,
not trying to push you in any direction, but it would be great.
Oh no, it's a 44-page document I put together.
Okay, so that's 2 Siebel Fridays worth of information. All right. Well, good to hear, and yeah, thanks Nick for this. And again, if you guys have any topic you want to discuss, you want to showcase something that you did, Siebel Friday is open. It's an informal gathering, and so you can showcase whatever you're comfortable with. All right. Okay, I don't see any new messages in the chat. So I'll say we just call it a day for this first Siebel Friday of the year. Hopefully seeing you in the next Siebel Friday. Thanks very much again to James and Aaron. Thanks for the great demo, and yeah, see you next Siebel Friday. Thank you very much.
Bye, Alex. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.